Is that okay? Yeah,
But
I
you have
suppose Miami is
Orlando
kind of like Miami.
and
Yeah,
Miami.
Miami doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
They
they
just
really don't.
they like it when their basketball team wins.
What is
Usually,
what like
I guess.
so not to crazy go tangent, but has anybody heard anything new about the Miami Stadium situation? Because all I heard was it's real
I've heard
bad.
that Don Garber is telling Beckham, yeah, you got to settle that, or we're just gonna go somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it sounded like it was bad, and then everything went radio silent. Actually, it wasn't radio silent. It was everybody was like, "Hey, the World Cup. Who gives a shit about Miami?" So I haven't heard anything about it recently.
Hey, speaking of the World Cup, who gives a shit about Miami?
Hey.
There's
Um,
actually, I have a World Cup stadium thing to talk about
ooh.
that I might end up having. Okay, so
Yes.
basically, I'll just tell the story now. Basically, the hearing for the DC United Stadium is happening tomorrow at
Oh
Yeah.
man, nobody's gonna be there. Huh?
at 9 a.m.
Nobody's gonna be
to
there. Oh
5 p.m. They said they're
Wow.
going.
they're having it all day.
Yeah, you remember that Orlando Stadium hearing that went all day and into the
Yeah.
night? It's
Yeah.
basically one of those types of deals.
Okay.
And so the notion is all of the DC United fans are going to go to that. They're actually going to show the U.S. Germany game once it starts at noon DC time, like in a screen somewhere. I don't know how that's going
Wait,
to work.
at the courthouse?
Yes.
We're gonna take down the American flag and put up a big screen TV right behind where the judge sits. That's awesome. That's a great image.
And I don't know what it. I
Down
don't know
in
how it's
front,
going to
Your
work.
Honor.
I mean, it's just city councilors, so I don't think there are any like honorable people, or I'm sure there are honorable people, but
No, I think you had it right. I think you had
Yeah.
it right.
so basically, had we beaten Portugal, had we held on for those 30 seconds, this game would not have mattered as much, and more DC United fans could go and support the DC United Stadium. And now that that hasn't happened, they're gonna go not do that, not support the stadium, and watch the game instead, and then it's gonna get rejected, and then, you know, Ian's gonna be sad.
So where? I mean, this has been approved apparently multiple times. So how does it keep getting stuck in administrative quicksand? Like what's going on with it? And I mean, does it seem likely to happen? Does it seem like it's going to be just outright rejected or outright accepted, or is it going to just keep
Here's the
dragging
email I
on?
got from Unite DC Coalition. It says, tomorrow the DC City Council will hold its first public hearing on the DC United Stadium proposal. Blah, 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 blah. Submit written testimony at public hearing. Copies of written statements should be submitted to the Committee of the Whole Council of the District of Columbia, blah, 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 blah. So I guess it's because they're going to be spending public money on the related infrastructure. Not even on the stadium, but on the related infrastructure, but it's tied into the stadium bit, and opponents are going to tie it even further to the stadium, and it's just going to be a big...
So this is a chance for Joe Q Public to come and yell about his tax dollars being spent on it.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, sounds riveting. I'm going to go watch U.S. Germany. I'm
Yeah,
not
I am
doing
too.
anything related to government at all.
Yeah, tomorrow might be my least 2 productive hours I'll ever put in at this job. So I want to make this point because there's a lot of talk about, how the popularity of the sport is growing and how the World Cup this time around is an even bigger boost and the ratings are awesome and so forth and so on. And I just want to share my own personal anecdote. I work at a company who is pretty cool and pretty laid back, but not cool enough to be cool with me watching the World Cup at work. That they're not quite at that level. So I'm doing a lot of watch ESPN on my phone, and I'm getting it where I can, but it's not supported in any way. That changed today. We received an email from the morale committee, the one that plans ice cream socials and whatever, and they went to the top and got permission to take our largest conference room, which can basically hold the entire company. There's about 80 of us, 100 of us or so on a given day, and this conference room can hold that many people with a big giant projector screen and put the game on there tomorrow.
Wow.
They don't expect us to all go sit in there for 2 hours, but they've kind of said, like, hey, come in and check on the game, hang out for a little while, go do some work or whatever. And so to me, it's crazy because we're not in the quarters or the semis. Like, this is the final game of a group stage, and it's got enough notice that people that are not into soccer were like, hey, we should put this up for the employees. The only other thing that they've done in the 2.5 years I've been there is they did the same thing for the parade for the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl, which everybody in the office cared about. And
Yeah.
like, to have that on the same level to me, where they're deciding to put it out there for the employees is pretty cool.
I have a couple similar anecdotes.
I have a similar anecdote as well. Who goes first?
I have two.
Pick one.
Well, I'll share both eventually, but it's Josh, you go ahead.
I was at a conference that had a lot of, well, it wasn't a conference, it was like a workshop, basically, that had a lot of military folks and computer nerds in it, and I don't think I'm allowed to say much more about that than that, but it was a lot of people who I was like, none of these people are going to care about soccer at all, and then the U.S.-Ghana game starts, and me and I realize a couple other people are like furtively watching our laptops, and I hear a guy who is I don't know what rank he is, but he is a military man, and he says to somebody, "Are you watching soccer?" And they're like, "Yeah," and this military man is like, "Shouldn't we be working?" or something like that. I couldn't hear, but it was across the room, and the guy says real loud, "It's fucking America." And he goes, "You're right." And then he goes and he puts it on a projector, and then we watched it. And I was like, this is really crazy. And everybody just stopped working and stopped doing whatever they were doing, and we watched the Connor game, which was very, very fun to watch. But yeah, because I remember I was talking to you guys. I was like, I'm not going to go watch this game. It's like security nerds and military people. There's no way. And then suddenly it's on a projector, like 10 minutes into the game. It was great.
So luckily for me, I work a very transient job where I can write whenever I want to, except for very, very special circumstances. So I got to go to the Brits pub, the local big soccer bar, for the Ghana game, and it was awesome because normally they have like an outdoor grass area where there's like a big not a projection screen, but like a big LED screen in front of this lawn bowling area where they usually hold lawn bowling tournaments, I guess. I don't even know what lawn bowling is, but that's what they do.
Lawn bowling? Wow.
Apparently. I don't... It's very... I mean, it's...
Wait,
Brits pub.
You're in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. It's on top of... It's like on a roof, right? The lawn bowling place?
Yes.
I've been there. I played bowls there, sir.
Oh, you have bowled there?
I have bowled there. Bowling gets a lot more fun if you drink like 8 Pimm's cups, just for the record. It's like way better. Lawn bowls, I mean, not bowling, bowls. Anyway, sorry.
So the unfortunate/fortunate thing was that it started raining and thunderstorming. And so they had to close off the outside, which meant they stopped letting people to the inside, which meant I couldn't meet up with my friend until halftime when a bunch of people left and a bunch of people more could come in. My friend was waiting in the rain and the storms outside in a line instead of watching a soccer game. So that was not fun. But what was fun was the second half against Ghana when we were all packed into this one room and there was hardly any standing area. And so that was fun. You know, typical bar watching experience. And then I watched the Portugal game in a movie theater, and that was fascinating because there's been like movie theater showings of these games all over the country, and so I decided to go to one. And I turned to my nerd friend, the guy who's like, "Is Landon Donovan a robot?" That guy, the guy who thinks Landon Donovan's a robot.
Yeah.
And it's one of those big theaters. It can seat like 700 people, and I'm like, "Well, we should get in line." And he's like, "Is it really gonna fill up?" He's like, "It holds 700 people," and I'm like, "Yeah, maybe not, unless I'm severely underestimating the U.S. soccer fandom here in South Minneapolis," and I very much did. We got in line. We did get in line with about 100 people in, just so I knew I could sit in the back because I was going to stand up a lot, and I didn't want to irritate anybody. So, and it was great. It filled up. A lot of like 15 to 17-year-old crowds, which is always kind of confusing. And it was really hot. It was like the movie theater was trying to replicate the conditions in Manaus for some reason. And but that last second goal was a killer.
Yeah, that was my only consolation was that I fully expected that the U.S. would tie that game. So when it happened, I was like, well, I kind of I consoled myself by thinking I figured this was how it was. I figured this was what the score was going to be. I just didn't think that it was gonna end like that, because you're like, holy shit. Well, this is what I thought was gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It still sucks.
I think we all kind of consoled ourselves that way. Like, if you had told me before the Ghana game, hey, when you go to face Germany, you're gonna have 4 points, I would have been like, fuck yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, to be 30 seconds from 6 points, going through already, potentially winning the group depending on how tomorrow went. I mean, I was fucking ready. I was like, oh, man, we had all these pundits that were telling us we're not going to win the group. We're not going to make it out of the group. We're going to lose the group. We're not going to score a single goal. And here we are, 30 seconds away from being the first to qualify in a group of Portugal and Germany.
Yeah.
Fuck. So close.
Yeah. Though it is the fact that that game is depressing. The fact that like we're all thinking, I mean, that is how far the national program and the national team has come. That we're all
Absolutely.
going, we could have won that game, instead of being like, holy shit, we didn't lose that game. I mean, you know, it's an impressive feat, and
Hey, how you guys feeling about tomorrow? Where are we at? Let's be honest here. I want to hear actual, honest feelings.
I'm pretty sure that we'll lose, but I also suspect that Ghana and Portugal will tie and we'll go through, or Ghana will win by 1 goal and we'll only lose by 1 goal. I think we'll lose, but we'll go through. That's my gut.
I think we're gonna go up 3-0. And
now you're high.
I was high yesterday. I not smoked today.
I just realized how high you are. Sorry.
I'm glad we're getting that out in the open, because I have a hard time judging whether or not Ian is high, and I never wanted to call him out and be like, Ian, are you high right now?
I've never been high on this podcast.
Ooh, he's taking it serious.
Yeah, that is wow. Okay.
At least to my knowledge. if I was, it was once.
It was like a residual high. You were like still high from something. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Wait. Tell. Okay, 3-0. The U.S. is up 3-0, and then what happens? There's a rift in the space-time continuum.
That's all I know. We're up 3-0 in the 18th minute, and then that's it. That's all I know. Like the Portugal game 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I did not know that you had that quality of stuff in Minnesota. I'm kind of impressed.
So,
I didn't realize that you had that sort of botany going on.
The girl that I get it from, who I was kind of sort of with for a few weeks, she gets it from Colorado.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Hey, that's
going to lead us right back into snack chat.
Yeah.
You know what's been fascinating to me, though, this World Cup, is not like the insight, but just the notion that literally every mainstream media outlet is talking about it.
Yes.
Like
USA Today, giant headlines. I was in a hotel and I would see USA Today every day. Something which normally has no soccer news. Crazy.
My little brother listens to sports radio all the time, like the local sports radio, like, you know, AM 1500 or something, and you know, usually it's crap, right? But they not only were they talking soccer, they were talking about the position of soccer in the United States sports spectrum, and they actually were making, like, they actually weren't talking completely and totally out of their ass. You know, they go through the normal, well, why isn't it so popular? You know, like the reasons like, well, it isn't our game, we didn't invent it, there's little room for advertising, blah 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 blah. And it's those kinds of conversations I feel like are happening everywhere, not just in sports media, but in conversations around the country as everyone's gotten into this World Cup, as we've seen, to an unprecedented level, which was sort of predicted by the soccer, like we would have predicted. We probably have predicted that this would be the most followed World Cup ever in American histoit.
We did predict that. Let's pat ourselves on the back a little bit.
Yeah, and
and one other thing that I want to say is that the difference of this World Cup and like the difference in the way that people experience this game. It's interesting to hear people say that one of the reasons for the lack of popularity of soccer in the United States is that it doesn't have opportunities for lots and lots of ads. Like, the fact that somebody says that and other people look at them straight-faced, like, I understand that that's a reason why advertisers and marketers may not like it, but for fans, like, that's just an absolutely mind-blowing statement to think that a fan is going, there's not enough ads in this. Like, I think I really need more ads. But another thing is that I think it is the difference of it, like, the Super Bowl happened in Seattle, right? It was the team from Seattle, and the game was not here. There was no outdoor viewing parties, right? There's massive outdoor viewing parties everywhere, and the demographics and the way that people experience it and the way that people are watching the game and talking about it is very different than what they do in other sports, and I think it's going to be good that there's going to be a kind of a re-reckoning of how we figure out who's, what's popular and what's worthy, and and what, I mean, ultimately it just comes down to, money for the national team and for MLS, but, God, just thinking about the Nielsen ratings, they're looking at Nielsen boxes, which is great for people at home watching baseball. But you look at Grant Park in Chicago, and it's like, I mean, there's tens of thousands of people out there, and anybody who thinks that Nielsen actually is accounting for those people or the hundreds of people that are packing into most bars in most major metropolitan cities is giving Nielsen far, far too much credit. I mean, we're seeing huge Nielsen numbers, but there's no way that represents the number of people who are watching this and following this. And I think we're going to see a serious re-reckoning of this, of the place of that sport by the end of this World Cup, once everybody kind of has a chance to look back and look at data. I mean, I sound like such a fucking nerd, but we know that this is part of money and influence and the ability to construct a league that we're going to look back and go, wow, that's really different. Like, that's very, very different than the way that other sports are consumed and experienced and discussed and related to, and all of those are going to be good things. None of them are bad. None of them are bad for the sport, and I'm excited to see. I mean, of all the things in the World Cup, that's probably like the least exciting of them. But when the World Cup is all over, that's going to be great because there's going to be a re-reckoning of it.
Absolutely.
It's also. Go ahead.
And it's the thing I've been looking forward to the most. I mean,